Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this session at TNV Academy. For today's webinar, we are glad to have Mr. Ajay Bajpai with us as the guest speaker. Today, he will be sharing his thoughts on the topic quality policy, which is covered under class. Today, he will be sharing his thoughts on the topic quality policy, which is covered under clause 5.2 of ISO 9001 standard. Mr. Ajay Bajpai has audited several organizations for ISO 9001 standard and has assisted many others in implementation of the standard within their organizations. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301 and 50001 standards respectively. He has an industrial experience of around 38 plus years in field of manufacturing, quality control, quality assurance, design services and technical testing. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and how ISO standards are implemented within organizations. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Bajpai. I may request Mr. Ajay Bajpai now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you, Apur, and I welcome the team of participants into this webinar. We always conduct the trainings with a view that we all can learn more and more onto the management systems and various subjects and topics. So today I will be talking and discussing onto the topic of ISO 9001 clause 5.2 quality policy. Policy is slightly different for different standards. Today, I'll be mainly covering the 5.2 with respect to the quality management system certification ISO 9001 2015 standard. And we, in our experience, we have seen that policy so it depends upon their understanding level, their vision and mission of the management, and the involvement of the team, and of course the suggestions and guidance given by the consultant trainers, and further suggestions and points raised and modifications done by the result coming out of the first party audit, second party and third party audits. This we can say very clearly because we have seen all throughout these phases with variety of type of industry, with variety of service industry, the production unit, the manufacturing units, the transporters, and so on. So, first point is to start with the linkages. Linkages, as you can see, 4.1, 6.2, 10.3 are the main linkages. But review and implementation is seen in almost all the clauses, as we have discussed earlier also, that all the clauses, most of them are interrelated. No ISO clause is standalone as such. They will have linkages into some other clauses. Only thing, we need to read the language of standard very, very clearly. When I started, doing the audits in 1988-89 period, my senior auditor, lead auditor used to tell us that, it is very important to read through the lines, between the lines, and reading the lines again and again. The more you read the standard, the more you read the lines, the more will be clarity into your mind and your operations of the understanding of that particular clause or subclause of the ISO 9001 standard. So number one starting point is the establishing the quality policy. Today also there are many organizations where the starting point is from the quality policy with respect to 9001. Environment management system will have environment policy, health safety management will have health safety policy. That we will be discussing in future when we are discussing the other standards with respect to quality policy. So generally we all say, and the standard also have made a statement that it is the top management who shall establish, implement and maintain a quality policy. So normally it comes from the vision and mission and thoughts of the top management, the board, the chairmans, and so on. So they are the ones who are, mainly getting into the scenario when the establishment of the policy of quality of the organization is going to start. Then when we document and when we are going to plan the quality policy, it should be appropriate to the purpose and context of the organization. So it gets linked to the clause 4.1. We need to see how internal situations are there, how external issues are there, and how the organization is going to move towards which kind of direction. So quality policy should be in line with that. In some organizations, initially we have observed that their policies are at times going left, right. They are not focusing toward the strategic direction of the organization, and context is also having a little issue in that. So we raise an issue, then later on they will be developing on that. Also, it is very clear that the quality objectives are framework with respect to the organization's policy. With the support of objectives, the policy can be seen meeting the requirements or meeting the goals of the organization. So we will discuss further into the quality objective situation, how they should be linked when we talk of quality objectives. But for the time being, the policy should be documented in such a way so that the quality objectives are derived out of it, and quality objectives are ensuring that the intent, the plan of the policy is being met by the implementation of the quality policy in the organization. It also should include the commitment to satisfy applicable requirements. There can be a lot of other applicable requirement for the organization, the statutory need, the regulatory requirement, the customer's need. Sometimes, depending upon the product, there will be other requirement of FDA, FSSAI, and so on if they are into the food production and food services. So depending upon what is the organization's product, service, the framework of the policy needs to be decided, and we need to ensure that yes, as an organization, we have committed and we are meeting the requirement of those applicable requirements to see that yes, quality policy developed, it is documented, it is implemented, and it also meets all other those requirements which are required by the organization to sustain, to survive, and to further develop their process. Also, it is clearly getting linked to the continual improvement of quality management system, clause 10.3. Because if we are developing the policy, we are upgrading our policy, if we are updating our policy, we auditors have always been saying for last many years that quality policy, one set of quality policy is not forever. There are organizations who have been thinking that policy is forever. Policy is forever good, but it needs to be updated. It needs to be further defined. It needs to be fine tuned. It needs to be revised as per the changing needs of the society, the organization, the customer demand, the changing of the design, the changing of technology. So initially, when we started doing certification, many organizations even after surveillance and many recertification cycles, 3 4 cycles were done. Then we started discussing with them, and we started bringing their focus to a situation where we have explained to them, discussed with them that policy also needs to be updated, revised, and changed as per the above situation. Objectives are changing, the targets are changing, applicable requirements are changing, getting upgraded, our contexts are changing, our directions of organizations are changing, visions and missions are changing as the organization is getting developed. New generation is coming to management board. They have different thought, different kinds of IT implementations are there. The softwares are getting new. So the policy cannot remain the same. Objectives cannot remain the same. So we need to update all. So this was the brief introduction onto the quality policy. Further, we go into next slide into the requirement, what respect the understanding of the whole team of the organization, along with relevant interested parties and appropriate. So communication again, it needs to be communicated. So it gets linked to the 7.4 when we talk of straight away into the communication, how to communicate, internal communication, external communication, customer communication, because communications are again at various levels. Communication is not at one level. So number one, 7.5 link with the documentation that yes, it needs to be documented, and once it document, it should be available to the respective employees, interested parties, the regulatory board, and so on. And then we always talk of understanding the when we talk to the usual to remember the quality. What is the idea of the communication and understanding is they should understand the concept. What is the concept of these 8-10 lines hidden with respect to the organization's activities and goals? So understanding is very important. Then what is their role? For example, there is a machine operator. He need not to by heart the quality policy. We don't appreciate that. We want him to understand the theme behind it. What is his role so that he is running this particular machine and how his machine is going to give the best possible results within the available resources with the concept of quality policy understood. So he plays his role. And when we ask him into first party, second party, or third party audit, we expect him to give his mental consent to that. We understand that yes, he has understood the concept of the quality policy, not remembered it by heart because that has not much meaning to us as an auditor who is having a clear thought that yes, it is a system which is to be on a path of continual improvement. So the continual improvement thought will be when individuals are involved, the concepts are clear. We also have to see that relevant customer or is a regulatory board or he is a second chain customer or whatever his level is into this supply chain management, he should be made aware to that respect. Because without his understanding his interest, we cannot just say that yes, made him aware of the policy. What level, what extent is very, very important. So let's go to the next level of discussion. What are we expecting out of the quality policy? What does it mean to us ultimately? How it is going to make effect, impression on our surroundings, our interested parties, our customer, and so on. So when we start this movement, this action, the organization team, inclusive of interested parties, is trained onto the concept of policy. As I said earlier, not the literal meanings or not the literal lines of the policy, but what is the concept behind formulation of quality policy and what is the organization's top management and the entire organization is thinking of coming as a outcome of the quality policy implementation. Also, when we implement the quality policy as per the requirement of 9001-2015 standard, it also gives us confidence as an organization, as a training organization, as an auditors, set of auditors, first, second, third party auditors, that yes, the 9001 can be implemented with the intended results. Intended results, always we talk of continual improvement, customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction includes internal, external, final customers satisfaction. And then we can meet the global requirement. Wherever our products and service is being uh, delivered, that is meeting the global requirement. It's not happening only in one place or 10 places, it is happening all across the places. And when we say the formulation of quality policy, it should be auditable and question and answer clarity should be there. See, any point, any subject, any topic, any departmental function, if it cannot be audited, if question and answers are not having the clarity, then that particular area will not be subject to further updation and improvement. So we always believe anything which can be audited in a way that yes, value addition can be brought, the questions can be asked, the answers can be given. Question answer, we will talk question, then we talk how to question, what can be the answer so that the auditing can go on. So, with respect to that, the language of policy is very, very important for the clarity of it. In many organizations, when we read the language, it is not clear. They have made some hi-fi words, some hi-fi language, but that is not understood at the grassroots level. And even sometimes to the qualified auditors like us, we are also confused with the language of the policy. It should be meaningful. Whatever you say, we are supplying the best quality of product means what is the best quality of product? We don't understand that. They will say etc. words are used sometimes in policy. Sometimes they will say we are the excellent, the quality suppliers of the best health and safety product of the something something. But we don't understand the meaning of it. And then again, it should be logical. Anything documented, anything thought by the management or by the team of the organization should be logical. Logical also related to the common sense. When we are formulating the quality policy, we suggest the organization to think all this, the language, the meaning, the common sense understanding of the grassroots rebel person, and define it with the help of logical thinking, logical thoughts, logical calculation, whether it is achievable or not, whether it is giving a good impression to the customers or not. When you have customers, when you have regulatory boards meeting, they should understand that yes, it has come out of a logical thought, not just like that. Some consultant, some auditor, some quality MR have just documented. So it's important. I am repeating this sentence because this is one of the very, very important point. Initial audits and sometimes surveillance audits, we get into a lot of issues because this particular area is not clear. Also, it should meet the needs of the interested party. Interested parties have got lot of requirements, lot of things they expect out of the organization. So they think that their needs should be identified by the organization and their expectations should be meeting as much as possible. 100% meeting may not be possible when we start the activity, but yes, slowly as we go on, we are trying to reach as close as to 100%. So that's the thought of the whole implementation plan. The policy should also be meeting the, we discussed earlier, vision, mission, and direction of the top management because it is ultimately the outcome of the what is the management requirement, what do they think, what is their vision, what the board of director is thinking, what is the direction of the organization, whether they are into exports, only into exports, either they are into or domestic marketing, what is the size and type and capacity of the products they are manufacturing, what is the context of their organization, what is the strategic direction of the organization. So all that many times is coming to a greater extent from the mission and vision of the top management. We have also seen many organizations where the the bottom line is so much involved, where the bottom line, the workers, the operator are so much clear cut in their concept that the thoughts are having a mix coming from their point of view also. In many organizations, the draft is developed, they discuss it at the grassroots level, or sometimes the grassroots level. Operator workers are so alert and qualified that they suggest what should be the content of the quality policy, what should be the linkages to quality objectives. So it depends upon what is the kind of organization we are dealing with. But generally speaking, yes, meets the vision and mission and direction of the top management is the thumb rule. But other things are also possible. Sometimes the middle management is coming with some very good thoughts and very good policy that is incorporated into the documentation as it is by top management. So it depends upon situation to situation, the kind of organization we'll have, the kind of team we have. So now we have understood what are the desired results. This is all going to happen when we are getting into the development of quality policy. Going further, we talk of what? We talk of the planning activity. So now we are getting into the planning. We have understood the requirement, the team is trained, they have understood the requirement of the standard, they have understood the vision and thought of the top management, middle management, and the bottom line. So now it should get into a formal documentation. Many companies will make a draft initially, it will be kept active for a couple of weeks, couple of months, depending upon the type of organization, the complexity of the organization, the number of units they are involved. A multi-locational, multinational company will have offices in 20 countries, maybe. So their draft policy may be circulating for a couple of months, maybe. It depends upon their own plans. When are they going for certification and how much time they want to take to develop a strong policy. And then approvals. Drafting, reviewing, and approvals are few critical elements. I think I'm clear on the concept that these approvals cannot be changed just like that. When we go to some organization in third-party audits, the bottom line will sometimes say, "Sir, there can be a problem, but I don't know the top management have approved it, so we are just following it." So the top management concept also needs to be clear when they are going to approve it. They should not be just signing it and approving it. A lot of thought, thinking, planning should go into the documentation and approval. Then providing effective training across the organization, throughout the organization, throughout the interested parties, so that the concepts are clear and they know what is the output expected out of this quality policy as we discussed in the last slide. Now it is formulated, it's documented. So what do we do? To see that it is understood and it is in the mind and heart of the operating team of the organization, it needs to be displayed. So many organizations will have big displays. Many of us know it is displayed on to the entry point of the organization. It is displayed at various key locations of the organization so that it remains into the operations as an active part of the activity. Physically, organizations have cards, quality policy cards. Many organizations will have it printed onto the identity card. So there are various ways, they will be displaying it on websites so that all interested parties as appropriate with all whom the website linkages are shared, because there are multinational organizations who can have various multiple websites. So it depends upon how they want to display it. And when we go for third party audits, we are also looking into various kind of measures, what they have done so that we understand of the team is clear. So display on website is something very good in our thoughts. Then there are various softwares available, SAP, ERP, internet methods. By utilizing them, the quality policy is uh, very well understood, very well circulated, and very well can be verified and updated, and can also be first party, second party, third party audited by effective utilization of the softwares. So now we have understood that yes, this communication within the organization and to related interested parties as appropriate is very much required to see that it is effectively implemented. So the planning part is a key function of the documentation, approvals, training, displays, communication, and implementation. So now the planning part is done. We move further to the action. Now we need to see that yes, we are going to have action so that it is effectively conceptually understood in the organization, and benefits out of the quality policy implementation are derived effectively, and efficiency is always increasing with respect to the policy implementation. So we do the monitoring of all the processes as per the plan and as per our quality policy. So this monitoring is very, very important. Unless we do effective monitoring, the situations of policy are not implemented as desired and as planned. Then coming to analysis of the policy. Initially, as I discussed, most of the organizations will draft the policy and then they will slowly start implementing it throughout the organization, throughout the interested parties as appropriate. In between, we always suggest, and most of the organizations also do it, they keep on analyzing it simultaneously, not at the end of the day sometimes, not at the end of the month, or not at the end of the internal audit. So what happens if they are doing a continuous or continual analysis of the policy, then they know what wrong wording has been done, what wrong language has been used. This may not be suitable to a South African company in that particular language. You know, they need it in a different language, their thoughts are different. It may not be very much appreciated if this is displayed in the same way in Arab countries because they need more and more fancy way of display. So it depends upon the culture of the organization, culture of the country, state, district, and it needs to be seen from that point of angle. And analysis must go on so that we can upgrade and update it. And this chart of implementation, which many organizations will develop initially, how the implementation will be done at first level, first phase, first step, second step, third step, and they keep on doing this analysis. And this chart is getting developed as an ongoing process. So now the action plan is ready. So what do? We go for implementation. Now our quality policy, which has been developed, documented, drafted, is now into functions. Now it is functioning across the organization globally. It is a global organization. So what we start doing? They start observing the functions at various levels. The core team of implementation, or the MRN coordinator team, or the cross-functional team, whosoever has got the responsibility to see the implementation of the policy, they are running it and they are observing how it is being implemented. And we need to enhance the effectiveness of the policy implementation. Whatever we have planned initially, whatever we have drafted initially, have to be with a point of view of continual improvement. So we have to enhance the effectiveness and always see that it is going into more and more roots of the organization. It is going from mind to the heart of the individual, heart to the mind of the individual. There is a function going on heart to mind, mind to heart, documentation, upgradation, and policy implementation effectiveness is being checked. And as we discussed, policy is implemented through the objectives. So we have the charts of a policy and objectives available with us. And as we go on, as the process go on, as we reach the third week or third month of the implementation, this data of policy and objectives is being updated on a continuous basis so that improvements are seen out of the policy. Policy is not for the sake of the policy. The theme is objectives are implementing it, and objectives are smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and target oriented. So we are moving on a path of continual improvement. When we go in surveillance audits, and we specifically look into a situation that yes, what improvements are coming with the support of this policy and objectives implementation, how chart, how metrics are bringing improvement, how rejections are being reduced, how productivity is increasing, how customer complaints are reducing, how customer satisfaction is enhancing, internal, external, final customer, how these things are improving because the entire theme is to improve upon these things. If we find some organization remains where we were when we went for initial audit or stage 2 audit, then we feel something was wrong. Maybe there was a problem into the implementation, maybe the trainer has done some mistakes, maybe the auditor has done some mistake. Because when analysis of all this auditing process certification is being done at a higher level, and when we go to root cause, we come out with a lot of interesting results. And we find out, yes, these are the root causes, then corrective actions are planned. And we always say, conduct the correct calculation after implementation. There are organizations who will say, yes, that policy after drafting has been implemented up to extent of 80% in first month or 90% in 3 months. So, has it been done with the support of correct calculation, or it has been only a thought of somebody wandering about the shop and being very happy with good display? Good display is very good, but has it been understood? Has the concept been clear? Just making a statement that I have seen 10 quality policy board display, I have seen on website, I have verified it with two employees or three employees in three departments, is it sufficient? No. We need to go with a mathematical way. We need to do it with a particular precise calculations. We need to define how the effectiveness of implementation will be verified. And it can be done only through the correct data, correct fact and figures, not by our thoughts and feelings, not by involvement of two or three persons, not by the understanding level of few of them. We need to see that it is understood all across the planned area into the organization, into the interested parties, customers, the future customers, and so on. So the thought has to go a long way because policy is something which is going to be a long-term policy for the organization. So it should be based upon correct, accurate, precise calculation with the support of facts and figures, with the involvement of all, and then it is thought to be and understood to be implemented effectively. So now the implementation is in. So now what we do, we go into the next part of discussion, that is the analysis and future action. We have now the data. It is implemented 70%, 80%, 90%, depending upon our planning, depending upon verification into various areas, various units, various departments, various units in number of countries, number of states, number of districts, and with respect to various processes and products, depending upon what is the scope of the organization. So we study these charts, quality circle, small groups, cross-functional teams, and we see what is the effectiveness of our implementation for our quality policy all across the organization as per our plan. I always say as per our plan, as per our requirement, because the plan and this thing keeps on varying from organization to organization. And we also tell many auditors we discuss this subject details into auditing topic. But just to give a thought to you all is that it will always keep on varying from organization to organization. Every organization has got their own way of documenting, their own way of expanding, their own way of reviewing it. So but the theme is maximum involvement of the personnel of the organization. Small groups always play a very important part. And then when we do it, we need to study the data, data analysis, monitoring of data by understanding various kind of techniques is very important. So unless we do the analysis of the data, we will not understand how effectively the policy is being implemented. It is implemented very well, very good, excellent way is not the correct terms to be used by auditors. We always talk in the language of mathematics. It is implemented to the level of 88.5% into our South African unit at Tanjagona, maybe the place unit is there. I would like to have a reply from a person in Tanzania. He said my unit has got 89.9% implementation of policy. So that's the kind of facts and figures which comes out of the data analysis. Then we can take actions so that this is increase. This is what we want in surveillance and pre-certification audit. The whole theme should be improve further, improve further. Then further improvements and the sustainability. The SDG cannot be implemented unless we conduct an effective internal audit of quality policy implementation. Globally, it has been proved that unless we conduct an effective internal audit by using trained internal, second party, or third party auditors, the effectiveness cannot be ensured. No system can sustain, no system can bring about improvement unless it is subject to effective internal audit. That is why a third party auditors, we have lot of confidence into the good results of internal audit. When I say good results means we look it through lenses which can magnify the results, which can show the analytical intellectual power of the internal auditors. I always say into the audits, and many senior auditors again endorse that. We have lot of confidence into how the internal auditing has been done. By looking into the internal audit done by the organization, we can see the direction very clearly. Many auditors say feel, so we don't feel anything into the auditing or into this management system. We always see through. We always look at the fact and figures of the data analysis of the internal audit. Five NCs has been there. Means what? Are they major minor? Have corrective action plan been effectively implemented? Has root cause analysis has been done? Out of five, how much effectively they are implemented when corrective action has been planned? How much is the authority involved? What is the role of top management into it? Have they provided resources as planned? Have they been able to close it within the time limits? Or this is the behavior of the organization at time, behavior of the team that they will just write something. Yes, sir, it will be done tomorrow. There's nothing which can be done effectively into internal auditing by saying a statement, it will be done tomorrow. Because most of the language of the MCs and the type of MCs, if you see, if it is a non-conformity at all, done by a thought, done by a root cause analysis, done by going into the details of the product and processes and the implementation of the service efforts, then it will require efforts to do. It will not be something which is done by a glimpse of the say that yes, it will be done tomorrow. So we have to see also the culture of the organization, and we definitely can make obvious a comment on that as maybe the observation and see that yes, they are doing it effectively, but more improvements are required. So it is the duty of the internal auditors and we as third party auditors to see it effectively by looking it from a practical angle, by utilizing the qualities of auditor as per ISO 9011 to see that yes, we can add value with the help of effective internal audit. So the internal auditors who are going to conduct the audit of this particular function, they should be first of all conceptually clear with the concept of quality policy. They should understand what is policy all about, why it has been documented, what is the intent. It is only to meet the requirement of 9001 2015 or organization have much broader, much detailed thoughts with the help of quality policy and ISO 9001. Ultimate aim is to enhance customer satisfaction, reduce customer complaint, improve upon our productivity. Are those the thoughts? So, as an auditor, we have to think all that when we look at internal audit function. Now, we have conducted a effective internal audit. We are there ready with the results of the internal audit. So, as an organization, top management with the involvement of the key functions into the management review. So we conduct effective review of quality policy, documentation, implementation, communication at all levels as desired, as appropriate, or as required by the team of the organization. We understand the theme. Again, we review it. If it is a draft stage policy, we are doing the first management review. So, lot of discussion, lot of thoughts will go into the implementation of the management review meeting. So, every function we thought should be implemented. So, if management review meeting is conducted and implemented effectively with respect to the review of the quality policy, then many targets are identified, many responsibilities are given, resources are identified, and so on. Because the policy cannot be implemented, it cannot be reviewed just like that standalone. It will have links to various clauses and various functions as we have seen into the first slide. And I always say all the clauses are interrelated. So standalone, no clause will function, no department can bring about the desired and effective result with enhancing the effectiveness of the quality policy, and ultimately the implementation should be showing a direction. Yes, there are improvements. Then only the top management will be further investing their time and money into the effective implementation of the quality policy across throughout and across the globe wherever it is required and appropriate. Then what do we do? Lot of action has been decided when we conduct a management review. Team is involved. They are given a lot of directions. So it needs to be implemented effectively. And then after implementation, monitoring has to be done effectively. If some target dates and responsibilities are identified in the management review meeting, it is not only the writing or circulating the minutes of meeting. There are persons responsible who will be further tracking it. And they track the implementation, they track the action plan, and they see that it is done in time. If not done in time, it's not a crime. Not done in time, you can give another date. But what is important is that the team should not be sleeping. They should know that the target date had crossed or it is going to cross before that, or maybe sometimes they miss it, so but they note it on the next day and they further take actions on that and they further improve upon the process with the support of quality control. So the concept should be that when we are talking of quality policy, when we are doing the audit of quality policy, our mind should be very, very clear. In many cases, when we are developing and the auditors, they normally try to divert from the core subject, core topic. When we sit down in the auditors meeting, they will try to give various thoughts of the other. Everything is linked, but when a responsibility has been given to a particular auditor that he has to conduct the audit of clause 5.2 across the Indian continent into 5 or 10 units, then I as a leader will expect him to give me the result with respect to quality policy. He should not be talking of unnecessarily the purchasing activity or to the monuments he has seen into the Kolkata or Mumbai. So we are very, very clear when we conduct the audits. So, and then only the improvement will come. Then the auditor is focused to audit only the quality policy and related link and related clauses, not going haywire left and right unnecessarily. And then what comes is the ultimately the improvements are seen. Those organizations where it has been implemented with these thoughts of the 7 8 slides as we have discussed and as required by the standard, then improvements are seen very, very clearly. An organization will develop further plan, they will invest further time and money into it, and they will see that a policy which has been drafted now becomes a final policy, and now the organization team is bringing real improvement out of the policy implemented. Real means it is supported with the help of practical exposures, practical implementation, practical auditing, practical references of man, machine, materials, methods into the implementation of the policy with the help of small group, cross-functional team, with the involvement of all. There are organizations who circulate the policy as a part of their communication 7.4 and 7.5 documentation and communication part, and they will get into the review and verification. They will have suppliers meeting, they will have vendors meeting. We have seen organizations who will have their vendor or suppliers meeting and they start with the first topic as quality policy of their organization, so that it is going into the blood and veins of their suppliers and their vendors and their employees and their top management, that this is given the topmost priority. The certification plan, the QMS implementation plan has started with the drafting and development and documentation of a effective quality policy which has a good language, which has got meaningful thought, which has got a logical way of documenting it, which is being uh, demonstrated to the first party, second party auditors. Yes, this is something which we love and we want to implement it because it has been developed by the lot of effort of the organizational team, by the involvement of some have accepted and appreciated them. And after 3 months, we have revised the policy language, policy plan, policy method of documentation. Because in auditing, we have seen one way of documenting of policy or implementing of the policy in a particular part of globe or state or district will be totally unacceptable acceptable into another part of the world. So it depends upon, as I discussed, the type of organization, the type of product, the type of process we have, the kind of acceptance level of the organization, the kind of training they want. So if it is all going through a desired effect, a good planning has been done, then the implementation will be as per our accepted values, I always say. our values to draft, to develop the quality policy with the thought and vision of the down the line employees, and also involving the middle management, and of course giving due respect to the vision and thought and the mission of the top management, the board of directors. It is effectively implemented. So this is what I thought as the outcome of the discussion. We have further links to the ISO certification. We have got TNV system certification private limited, where we have got the accreditation of IAS with the due respect of the IAF involvement since the very beginning of the system implementation. So one can look through those links and understand more and more about various subjects. Also, we have got TNV certification private limited with UF accreditation with the website link given here. We have got guardian assessment with UF and IAF available with us. So these are various links of certification and website where you can further study and become more and more knowledgeable, because our websites are very informative. It has got lot of inputs. So with this, I complete and conclude my discussion on to the policy. And now I will invite Apoor, Ashish, Ajit, Chirag, and all the team to have some questions if they have. Thank you.
If any of the participants has any questions, they might please ask.
No, sir.
Okay. So concept is clear.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Ajit, you have any question?
So my question is, if quality policy is approved by a general manager of a company, is it known it to be taken as a approved policy?
It depends upon what is the organization structure. There are organizations where manager is the topmost authority in the organization. We have seen those companies. So if it is approved by a person who has got adequate authority to see that it is documented, it is implemented, and the results are verifiable, then it is accepted. But it all depends upon the organization structure of the organization.
So, being a report reviewer of the any client of when we go for the review of the reports, then how we can identify, how we can verify it whether GM has the power who has approved the quality policy of the organization.
When you are going to review the clause 5 of the standard of 9001/2015, you will find in the report the auditor must have given the organization structure. He must have reported onto the organization structure of the organization. If he has not done it, so then as a reviewer, please ask the auditor. He will clarify further and you will understand.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Ashish, any question? Okay, see Apur, if in chat box anybody has written anything.
No, sir, I haven't got any question. Any other questions do not have. We can now come to the conclusion of this particular session. I would say that this session was absolutely fruitful for all of us, and the topic of today's webinar was absolutely interesting, and we have been really benefited by your thoughts and knowledge which you have shared over the topic. I personally has been gaining a lot of knowledge from all the webinars you have been doing with us, and today also I was able to grasp the knowledge about quality policy. I can also say with much confidence that our participants also must have enjoyed the context of today's webinar. I thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of TNV Academy for giving your valuable time and accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker for today. I also thank all the participants for taking out time from their schedule and joining us in the webinar today. Hope to see you all again soon with an exciting new topic. I wish you all the best of luck on behalf of TNV Academy for your future endeavors. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Best of luck.
I request all the participants now please leave the meeting. Thank you.